Hey there, YouTube. Um, I got a response to my video, Human Right Part 2, from KeilFly. Hi, Kyle. Thanks for your video. Um, I spoke for 20 minutes, and I have to redo this. So I hope it's not too blunt and short, but I'm going to try not to speak forever. So if you haven't watched the video, please go see that. It should be attached to my Human Right Part 2. So the basic overall question is, what about an adult, or what about a male, who wants to be circumcised but doesn't want to remember his circumcision? I'm going to have to respond to this uh, with two different perspectives because you mentioned a 5-year-old, um, so I'll approach that first. A 5-year-old is not a competent decision maker about amputation of the body, and I don't feel like that's the type of thing that we should allow our children to decide. Generally speaking, they wouldn't really want to do that unless there was some kind of social impact, some kind of influence going on. We wouldn't let our children get permanent body alterations like tattoos and piercings. Well, maybe piercings. I was pierced at 4 years old, and I don't think that was appropriate. So whatever. But as far as an adult goes, when you're talking about rights that need to be protected, uh, the right to have had something already done to you doesn't really exist. That's not, I mean, there's no way really to define that right. Rights are not something tangible to be given to you. So surgery is not a right, and there's no way for us to know whether or not a man would or wouldn't have wanted to be circumcised. So we certainly, and I don't think you were making this point, but I should say, we cannot amputate everyone's foreskin for the off chance of a small percentage of men who would have wanted that. We can't anticipate it. It's not a right to be protected. So forgive me if I might be missing your point, but if a man doesn't want to remember his circumcision, he certainly has anesthesia available to him, which unfortunately is not available to infants because their bodies can't handle it. So a couple of things that I think would be really beneficial for you to explore a little bit is some info first about circumcision damage. I realize that you have the opinion that circumcision is minimal and not damaging and yeah, insignificant. So while you're certainly entitled to your opinion about that, I think that if you go exploring a little bit, you will discover that there are a lot of functions, like literal, real, physical functions for the foreskin. Some of them being sexual and protective and that kind of thing. So, and the reasons that I am opposed to doing circumcision on an infant is not just because of the change or the lack of allowing a man to choose. There are impacts to the brain that happen with the pain involved, and so there's really a lot to know about circumcision. So I do recommend kind of exploring some of the stuff that's been written about that. When it comes to the way that we look at FGM, it's all about our culture, the way we were raised, and the things that we're used to. And so of course when you think about FGM, it's this horrible, drastic, terrible thing. But what you should explore and kind of be open-minded to is that the people who do this practice, they don't feel about it like we do. They don't feel like, oh, this is a horrible practice in our culture that's really oppressing women and yada yada. They do both. They do male and female circumcision, so they look at it the same. and they defend it in the same way that we defend circumcision for males. They believe that the female is healthier. They believe that there are no negative impacts. And so if you go looking beyond the envelope of our Western filtered, ideas, you will see that they really do feel the same way about it. And they feel like when people come into their culture and tell them, you can't do this terrible thing, you're hurting your children, blah, 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 that's offensive to them. In the same way that some parents here are offended by the idea that circumcision could be damaging because that you're telling them that they're damaging their children, and that's not their intent, and they don't believe that it is. I mean, ask any woman who had her daughter circumcised, ask her if she believes she's damaged, she'll tell you no, of course not. They even have studies that show that HIV is prevented by female circumcisions. So in regard to the opinion that different men have about their circumcisions, you can find any opinion on the scale of circumcision is the best thing in the whole wide world to circumcision is the worst thing in the whole wide world, and you find men everywhere in between who feel differently about their circumcisions, and all of those opinions are valid, because harm and benefit are all personal. It's their circumcision is not a good or bad thing. Circumcision is just a thing. It's a completely amoral thing. It's a surgery. So what goes into whether it's a good or a bad thing is personal. So what is happening then when you say that it's okay to circumcise a baby, what you're doing is you're allowing the parents or whoever's opinion of that surgery and the possible outcome and benefits and blah 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 risks is that you're saying that their opinion can apply to another person's body, and unfortunately that breaches equality, because if we're all equal, then my opinion is valid for me, and my opinion is the one that decides for my body. So if you circumcise an infant, you're forcing the circumcision on them, and you're forcing the opinion that it's okay on them. And so what I wanted to ask you is, why would you dismiss, aside from that maybe one specific instance of hearing a man say that he thought his circumcision was bad, but assuming that it was only his ego, only his not wanting anybody to decide for him, and dismissing the physical part of that, the part where he says it's not just that they took my choice, but it's that my body is different, and I consider that to be a harm, and I wanted all of the benefits of my foreskin. It belonged to me. Why is it that you would dismiss that so readily? Simply because the way that you look at it currently is that it's insignificant. Because dismissing that so easily is saying that your opinion is more valid than theirs. So, sorry this seems so rushed. I'm no good with time limits. But I really appreciate your response. And thanks everybody for watching.